Math 3, Unit 7, Section 2. Today we're going to learn how to convert circles to descriptive form. Yesterday when we talked through completing the square, that's going to be built into today's lesson. So we wanted to practice that yesterday so that today things would be easier. Okay, so first of all, let's go through some definitions that we have here. First of all, a circle is the set of all points in a plane that are equidistant. Do you guys know what that means? Equal distance, but it's pretty much, exactly. You guys are smart. That's good. From a given point in the plane called the center. Very good. A radius is any segment whose endpoints are the center and a point on the circle. Okay, the equation of a circle in descriptive form, we learned this yesterday, but it is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals, what's at the end? R squared, radius squared, very good. So the center of any circle, remember we always take the opposite. We'd set this equal to 0 and solve for x. And so what would be the center in terms of these letters? H comma k. Okay, because if you set this equal to 0 and solve for x, you'd end up getting x equals h and y equals k. And the radius of the circle is always just r. But we know in the equation it's r squared, so we always have to take the square root in order to find what r actually is. We talked through this yesterday, but remember when we are finding the perfect square, we're taking half of b, we square that to get our c value, and so on. Okay. So you'll notice here that everything's kind of all mixed up. Do we see this? Yeah. Yes? And so what you first want to do is kind of put all your x's together with the blank and all your y's together with the blank, and we may have to complete two squares. So what do I mean by that? See how these are both x's? So I'm going to write that as x squared minus 6x plus blank, because I want to complete the square. I want to make that part a square. Okay? Plus, now we're going to get all our y's. So here's the y, and this is the other y. And we're going to put that in a parenthesis. Okay? So we have y squared minus 2y plus blank equals, and on the other side is where all of our plain numbers go, right? And so what should I do here? Very good. You would want to subtract 4 to the other side. And so I'd have negative 4 over here. And then how many blanks do I have on the left side? 2. And so in order to balance the equation out, how many blanks would I need? 2 on the right. Very good. So I'm going to put a pink one there for my x blank and the blue one there for my y blank. Okay. Any questions so far? So now we're going to use the same process that we did yesterday. It's just that we have two squares in the problem. So starting here with this first one, we are going to take the negative 6, divide it by 2, and we get what? Negative 3. And we square negative 3, which makes it 9. And so 9 is what is going in each of those first blanks. I also, at this point, will write my square for the x's. So what would be my square for the x's? Very good, x minus 3 squared. Now we're going to go to the y's. So I'm going to take my negative 2, and we divide that by 2, which makes a negative 1. And then we square it, which makes it 1. And so 1 goes in each of the second blanks. Okay, on circles, it's always a plus in between. And then what would be my square for the y's? Y minus 1 squared, very good, equals, and then we combine all these together. What is it? 6. Okay, and so this right here is my equation in descriptive form. And then they asked us to state the center and the radius. So now that I have it in descriptive form, what is my center? 3, 1. And what would my radius be? It's always the square root of that number. So in this case, it is the square root of the square root of 6. Can 6 break down to pull out any numbers? No. So you can just leave it as the square root of 6. Do I need to approximate this answer? Only if I was graphing it. Did they tell me to graph it? No. Nope. So I don't need to approximate it. I'm done. Okay? You would only simplify it and pull out numbers if you could. Okay. Jackie and Cole, are you guys focused on this? Because it doesn't seem like it. Okay. Next one. So again, we're going to put all of our x's together. Okay? Do you see any other x's in this problem? No. No. Do I have to complete the square then for the x's? No. It already is. Okay? It's already a square. So we would just write x squared. Okay? Plus, and then now we're going to put all of our y's together. And so we make our parenthesis, and what will I write? Very good. Y squared minus 4y plus our blank. Okay, so I have all my x's and y's on the one side equals, and what will I do now with that minus 16? Very good. We're going to add 16 to bring it to the other side. And so we're going to put 16 over here. And how many blanks am I going to need this time? Just one. Okay, and so it's always based on you just want to balance it out. So if I have one blank here, I have one blank over here. If I have 2 on this side, then I need 2. I don't have to do anything with the x, it's done. So now I just need to complete the square with the y. What do I do? Good. Negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is 4. So 4 goes into each of my blanks. Yes?
Where did you get the 2 from?
Are you talking about this 2 right here?
Yeah.
So that goes back to like how you complete the square and how you always take half of your b number. So in order to complete the square, you always take that b value and divide it by 2. And remember, it's that this right here, your multiplying number is 4, your adding number is negative 4, and the numbers that make that happen are negative 2 and negative 2. Okay? So when I'm writing this equation now, we have x squared plus, what's going to be my square for my y? Y minus 2 squared equals 20. So that is my equation. And now we need to state the center and the radius. So the center is what? 0, 2. And to find the radius, we always do what? Take the square root of 20. I'm writing this to the side because I know 20 will break down. Okay, what 2 numbers multiply to be 20? Okay, 10 and 2. And then 10 breaks down to, so I have a pair of 2's, a 5 left over. So my radius is 2 root 5. And again, because I'm not actually graphing this, I don't have to approximate what it is. Do we have questions before moving on? Okay. So this one is a little different. First of all, there's a fraction in there. I know. So disappointing, but you will be okay. Just want you guys to know you'll be okay. But we always want to get all our x's and y's together, correct?
Yes.
But there's an issue with this because they're not all on the same side. So what should I do?
Subtract 16x.
Very good. And a lot of you try to do this in your head, and you end up messing up. So I would write out subtract 16x to both sides, and I'd also write out add 5y to both sides. Now, since I'm doing all this, should I go ahead and just move my number over to the other side right now too? Sounds good. So I'm going to subtract 101 divided by 4 to the other side, and that cancels out. Okay, Okay, so I'm going to pull a stick here. And my question is just how do I set up my x parenthesis to complete the square? All I'm wanting you to do is just tell me what to write with my x's at this point. Do you understand? Like, so I'm just writing it out where I put the blank in. Okay, Tracy.
Can you just go over what you just did?
One more time?
Yeah.
Of course. So all I did is, because I want all my x's on the left and all my y's on the left, and they're on the right now, so I subtracted 16x, brought it over here. I added 5y, brought it over here, and then I knew that I only want my x's and y's on the left and my other number on the right, and so I just added this fraction or subtracted it to the other side. So x's and y's on the left, anything that doesn't have an x or a y on the right. Okay, is there somebody that wants to help me write this? Okay.
X squared minus 16x plus blank.
Very good. X squared minus 16x plus blank. That is correct. That was the question I was asking. My next one is, how do I write out the y part? Amanda.
You do y squared plus 5y plus blank.
Perfect. And then equals, and can someone tell me what I need to write on the other side? Okay, go ahead. Negative 101 over 4. Anything else do I need to write on the right side? Very good. Plus a blank for the x's and a blank for the y's, because we always have to make a balance. If I add one thing to one side, I have to add it to the other side. Okay. Are there any questions up to this point right now? Put it away, please. Okay, next step. How do I complete the square here? Perfect. Negative 16 divided by 2 is? Negative 8, and negative 8 squared is? And so we put 64 in each of the blanks for the x's. Also, I would go ahead and write my square. How do I write this now as my square? Very good. X minus 8 squared. Plus, now I move on to the y's. What will I do? 5 divided by 2. I would just leave this as a fraction. Okay, so if it doesn't simplify, just leave it like this. Some people turn it into mixed numbers, which you can, but you don't have to. Okay? And so, since this doesn't reduce, I'm going to leave it as 5 over 2 for right now, and then I'm going to square it, and what does it become? Very good, 25 over 4. And again, you can leave this as 25 over 4. You should write the right number, though. Okay? And what I notice right now is like, oh, that's cool. These already are common denominators.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty nice. Okay, and what will this be as a square? Y plus 5 over 2 squared equals, and now we have to simplify this. Well, I'm going to start by simplifying the two. I'm going to put these together because maybe it'll end up making a whole number. I don't know. So negative 101 plus 25, what does that make? Negative 76 over 4. And does that make a whole number? Negative 76 over 4. Okay, let's get a calculator.
Negative 19.
Yeah, it does. It becomes negative 19. So I have negative 19 plus 64, and what does that equal?
Wait, not that.
It's
45.
45. Okay, so equals 45. So here is my equation in descriptive form. Do you want to ask me any questions? Are we all okay with adding and all that? Okay, what is my center? Good, 8 and negative 5 over 2. And at this point, you might want to write that negative 5 over 2 is actually what? Negative 2.5, correct? The radius is going to be what? So we're going to do the exact first, right? So square root of 45, that breaks down to what? 5 and 9. And then we know that 9 is 3 and 3, so a pair of 3s and a 5 left over. So my radius is 3 root 5, but we are graphing, so we want to know the approximate. And so the square root of 45 is in between what two numbers? 6 and 7, right? 45 would be in here, so we'd be looking at 6 and 7. So I'm just going to put approximately, and if you did in your calculator, it's approximately 6.7. Okay, so now we're going to graph it. So we're going to go right 8 and down negative 2.5. When you're at negative 2.5, now we're going to add 6.5 or 6.7 in each direction. So something kind of like this, but better. Okay. So you're just kind of counting 6.5, and if you're already at a half, it ended up making it close to that whole number, a little bit past it. Do we have any questions on that? Okay, we're ready to move on? Okay. Okay, so we're going to read this. It says, show that the circle with this equation is congruent to a circle with a center at 0, 0 and a radius of 5. What does congruent mean? The same, right? Or equal. Now, if you have two circles that are equal, do they have to have the same center? No, but what would they have to have the same of? The same radius. Okay? Now, what would I write this as an equation? Or do we need to write this as an equation? No, we don't really. We just need to make sure that this one has a radius of 5. Okay? So what do we need to do? Can you tell what the radius is, how this is written out? No. So what will we need to do? We're going to have to put it into descriptive form. Okay. So first of all, I like everything to be on the left side, all the letters to be on the left, and my numbers on the right. So I'm going to start rewriting this. So we have x squared plus y squared, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute the negative 2 through here. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 2y is negative 4y equals 20. So all I did is just flipped around both sides, which we can do because we didn't change anything at all. Correct? Okay, good. Now what's the next step? Good. Get your x's together in the parentheses. So my x's, I would write that parenthesis as what? Very good. X squared minus 2x plus blank. Plus, and then we're going to put our y's together, and so how would I write that? Good. Y squared minus 4y plus blank equals, and then on the right side of the equation, what will I have? Very good. 20 plus 2 blanks. All right, on the first parenthesis, how do I complete that square? Very good. Divide b by 2. So my b value is always the one that's just the plain x. So we have negative 2 divided by 2, which is negative 1, and negative 1 squared is 1. So we put 1 in each of those blanks. And how do I write that as a perfect square? Very good. X minus 1 squared. Plus, moving over to the y's, what do I do? Negative 4 divided by 2, which is, and negative 2 squared is 4. 4 goes in the second blanks. How is that as a square? Y minus 2 squared. So remember that it's whenever you simplify, when you divide it by 2, that's the value that always is making your number in the square. And then we add those together, and what do we get? 25. So based on this right now, what is my center?
1, 2.
Good, 1, 2. And my radius is the square root of 25, which is 5. So based on this, are they going to be congruent? Yes. And so step 2 says, indicate the translation required to map the first circle to the second circle. Okay, the first circle, the center is at what? So let's mark this down. I have a center at 0, 0. My other center is at, okay, right 1, up 1, 2. And so the translation is doing what? Good, up 2, right 1, or right 1, up 2, however you do that. Normally we do the X part first. So you could write your translation like this, right 1, that's in the X part, so it's positive 1 is going to the right, and up 2 on the Y part, positive 2. You could write it just like that. You could also write it like this, it's going X plus 1, Y plus 2, or you could just write right 1, up 2, and I would also accept that. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. All right, last one. Are we ready?
Yes.
Same thing. Okay? Again, okay, now this one says, show that the circle with this equation is a dilation image of this circle. So if you're showing that something is a dilation, that means it has the same center, but it's either expanding or decreasing from that center. So in this one, it needs to have the same center, but the radius will be different. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move all this stuff to the left side and the 135 to the right side, so we're just going to flip it, and I'm going to distribute. So x times x makes x squared. Good, plus 6x plus y squared. Oh yeah, you could add the blank right now if you want to. I'm going to do one more step. So I have y squared plus 10y equals 135. If you didn't already do it, I'm going to go ahead and put the blanks in. So we have x squared plus 6x plus blank plus y squared plus 10y plus blank equals 135 plus blank plus blank. Okay, you guys can probably do all this on your own, but because of time's sake, we're going to just keep going together. All right, so we take our b value, which is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then we square it, which is 9. Can somebody walk me through the second blank? Good? Good? Which is? Good. And I forgot to write my parentheses, which I would normally do it right at this point. What's my x parenthesis? X plus 3 squared. Good. What's my y parenthesis? Y plus 5 squared equals, and we add all that together.
169.
Very good. Okay, so based on that information, what is my center? -3, -5. Do these match? Yes, that's good. What is my radius?
13.
Very good. The square root of 169 is exactly 13. Okay, now, so we know that it's going to be a dilation, and the next thing they ask us to do is to find the ratio. Okay, what is the ratio? So the ratio of the dilation, this radius is how much? 3. And this radius is 13. So the ratio is 3/13. Any questions?